All right, you guys, today we are making a wig, so go gather your supplies, in which I have a dome cap, scissors, hair clips, needle and thread, hot glue, and hot glue sticks. And the hair we're going to be using is Dominican Curly, and this is a synthetic blend hair, and it's all in 5-in-1 pack hair. Okay, as you can see where I started the first track and placed it on my canvas block. And this hot glue method is especially good for like first time wig makers. If you're not very comfortable with needle and thread, hot glue is definitely the way to go. Get you some cheap hair, make you a couple of weeks until you feel comfortable, using more expensive hair and getting your technique down and your placement down. Here I'm just putting a thin strip of hot glue almost in a straight line, but not quite. And when I turn her to the side, you kind of see what I'm talking about. See how that angle is? That's to help, and when the wig blows back, so you don't see just tracks. It'll almost have like an invisible part method to it. If any of y'all remember those invisible parts, ooh Lord, wigs and stuff have come a long way. But I'm just continuing that process here. And I don't know if you can notice up at the top corner, I'm going to go back and put another little dab of glue. And that's the good thing about using glue or a hot glue gun. It doesn't take long at all. And if something lifts, you can always just, take a dab of glue and fix whatever mistake you've made, or just simply pull it apart. And as you can see, I pulled the track a little bit too hard and the glue it hadn't quite dried. So you just press it back together, put you another little dab of glue there, and continue on with your track. It's really simple, really, really simple. And I do like making wigs this method, especially with synthetic wigs, because I don't wear mine typically long anyway. So I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of time with some needle and thread and sewing, or either using my sewing machine and making a wig with synthetic hair that I'm not going to keep very long. So I'm just continuing laying these tracks, maybe about an inch apart, inch and a half. And this pack came with 18-inch, 220s, and a 22-inch bundles. The bundles really didn't. It was enough, but I would have liked to have just a little bit more hair on the track. The track is extremely thin, but for $26, who can complain? It is a whole wig in a bag, because you do get a closure, and you'll see the closure in a few moments. But here I'm just trying to show you different ways you could attach or place your glue down. You can place little dots, and I usually try to keep from pulling back on the hot glue gun to keep down on the strands, those little glue strands. They're not permanent, they always come off, but they're just, you have to go back and get them out. But eventually they fall out anyway with any type of hair combing or brushing. And this is the closure. It only has maybe a half an inch of parting space. It's not very big at all. I'm just taking some hair bands and securing it down and making sure I'm getting it nice and flat. And sorry that is out of focus, but here is attached. And if you see something white, I always like to trim, just in case something slips. A pin, I can always tell where the closure is going to go. And with this particular closure, I'm actually going to hot glue it down. Initially I thought I was just going to sew it, but I said, what the heck, we'll just hot glue this down as well. This is thin wig, what's the point? So it actually worked out really, really well. So here I'm just continuing laying tracks in the same formation, using a hairpin here or there, just to keep it intact while I start to lay the other tracks down with the hot glue gun. And once I get closer to the closure, you'll see my how I start to lay the track starts to become more in a U shape to help it go around the closure, so everything blends really well. And note with synthetic hair, when you're making a wig, try to less manipulation as possible, because as you know, the more you brush or finger comb through this hair, the bigger it gets, and as you wear it, the bigger it gets. So when you're first making it, I really don't do that much to it until I'm completely finished, because if not, oh, I've made that mistake several times, and by the time the wig was done, it was unreal how big it was. But here I'm just continuing on laying tracks. And I know it looks like a bunch of space, but this hair is synthetic, and once it freezes up and gets big, you can't tell, that any gaps were even there. But I wanted to show you in particular this part, and if you can notice how now I'm laying the tracks in a U shape. See how that kind of, I'm taking a sharp corner there. That's important because you want to make sure when you start to lay your tracks, they're laying in the direction of the closure, so you could go, because I'm going to glue directly on top of that closure with the remainder of the tracks all the way up into the lace. But yes, this is like really simple and easy. This took me maybe 30 minutes from beginning to end. Once my hot glue gun got really heated, and this hot glue gun I actually purchased from Walmart about 2 years ago, and it's just it's just an everyday hot glue gun. It's just gold. I think it's only about $7. But I am gluing. And now I'm just taking the pins out, and I'm going to place some glue up onto this closure and secure this closure down. And like I said, especially if you've never made a wig, or you hadn't really done anything with closures, this is a really good method to try to use to help get your closure placement down and all that stuff, and making sure everything lays flat. And of course, my don't mind my towel, I was dyeing some hair, but she is done, and here she is. And I did style her a little bit because she is going to this was requested by a friend of mine, so she is going to be styled and shipped. And thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Bye.